Alright, so what we're going to be doing here is not exactly a tier list, but what we're going to be doing here is basically going to be assorting roles to all the Pokemon. Basically, it's just going to show you exactly what mons you like, what mons serve what roles on a team in competitive. And in competitive, there's a lot of different things that many different Pokemon can do. So it's important to keep that in mind. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go through every single Pokemon in Pokedex order as best as I can. And just kind of sort out what they can do. I'll go over every single Pokemon briefly. I'll try my best to explain everything I can. Leave a comment if it's difficult to understand. I will be making a separate video for an actual tier list of my opinion. Not everything has been seen fully their potential, so I can't really say for sure what is the best, but I will try to make a tier list. And this video might be separated into multiple videos because of how long it is. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. So, let us begin with Charmander. Charmander, over here, has access to the move Ember, and has the abilities Blaze, Flame Boost, and Hero. All pretty good. The HP stat is 202, attack is 134, defense is 104, speed is 145, and has a movement range of 4. Movement range of 4 is very good. A speed of 145, also really good. HP stats also really good. The defense is pretty rough. If you get matched up against a water type or a ground type, it's going to be very difficult. This attack stat is really good for a very fully unevolved Pokemon, though. As we can see, Blaze, Flame Boost, and Hero, well, besides Flame Boost, these are all very much boosting your own damage abilities. Hero is going to be less common, yet Blaze is also more risky because it's at your low health. So they both have various options. And then Flame Boost helps ally mons, so it would be really good to have as like a group of sweepers, basically. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to this move, Ember. It's a very standard move. It isn't that complicated. While it does have the chance to burn, what its main thing is to attack one target and do a lot of damage to it. So this is going to be your solo sweeper. Even though it doesn't really seem like it'd be a sweeper, its main goal is to do damage, and it has many things that enable it to do more damage. The speed stat allows it to hit pretty often. The attack stat is very fair, and the HP stat allows it to live a little longer. It has all the tools it needs to be able to take out at least something on the opposing team's party. So we're going to give this first tier. It's going to be solo sweeper, and that's basically just means that their one goal is to take out one thing with its one move, because that one move hits one space or very little spaces. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Charmeleon. And Charmeleon is kind of cut from the same cloth. We should put into context that this is working in the way of sort of like Smogon Ranbats, in the way that the more evolved the Pokemon is, the lower its link, and the less evolved, the higher its link. So even though Charmeleon's stats are statistically just better than Charmander's, they might be worse in practice. However, I should say that besides the attack stat, which is probably going to be lower than Charmander in practice because it's only raised by like 5 or 10-ish, something about that, the HP stat, the defense stat, and speed stat have all grown about 50, which is really helpful. The range is still 4, so Charmeleon is still a very valid Pokemon. We're going to move on to Firefang, in which Firefang is sort of an extension of what Ember is, except it's closer to you. It's just a tile that's directly in front of you, so it can be easier to position, especially when you're tying in with another Pokemon that also has like a head 2 tile, like Charmander. Unironically, a Charmeleon and a Charmander together could actually be a pretty decent fire team in terms of competitive. They just have stuff that's good for each other. The chance to flinch and the chance to burn together, that's 15 and 15. It's not exactly 30% because of how percentages work, but that's like gonna come up like every 4 times you use the move, about. which is good, but it's not like something that's going to happen consistently, and it's only going to be one of the effects that's like a 1 in 4 chance. So this is still going to apply as a solo sweeper. It just goes in and hits one thing and it tries to take it out. That's its goal. It's going to take one thing out, put it out of commission. Either it's going to burn it, which is not really that fair to happen. It's not going to happen that often, or it's going to flinch, where again, it's not going to happen often. So you can't really count on that. We're going to go ahead and move on to Charizard, which is going to be a different story. This thing has Heat Wave, which is a lot stronger of a move. It hits 6 tiles in comparison to these previous two's 1 tile. That is going to change its position on this. It loses access to Flame Boost in favor of Last Bastion, which boosts your stats when you're the last Pokemon that is on your team. I'm not sure if that works the same as like Guardian Charm, where if it's the only mon brought, it procs, but I'm not sure. However, we can see here that unlike the difference with Charmeleon to Charmander, the attack is raised significantly, the HP is raised significantly. The defense, however, is again another issue. So, Charizard also is going to be really good at staying behind. You want to make sure that this thing is out of the range of opponents' attacks, and luckily, the range only being 3, which is the worst possible range you can have, isn't that big of a deal, because it's a flying type. Flying types can avoid any sort of terrain that is going on, besides rocks on specifically like Neo Cragspur. It's very helpful. This thing hits 2 rows to a head, as previously mentioned. It doesn't have the best accuracy, but its speed makes up for that, so it doesn't really matter. It becomes an arbitrary number. 10% chance to burn target. It's good. It's not going to come up often. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this a background sweeper. It's going to stay in the back, and it's going to sweep. Or, I guess another term for this is a glass cannon. This is your glass cannon. I'm going to call this a glass cannon because it's going to either do a ton of damage to the opponent, or multiple opponents, or it's going to faint immediately. It's going to go in, do damage, and try to stay out. You don't want to get lined up to an opponent's really strong attack. So, yeah, you don't want to get in trouble with Charizard. If you're the user, don't get hit by opponent moves. If you are against the Charizard, you want to make sure that this thing gets a little too risky and gets close to you. You want to take it out quickly as possible. Now, Beedrill, this thing has access to 2 really strong abilities in Mountaineer. Mountaineer is not the best for this thing, but it is decent in like a playthrough setting. It's not the greatest for a tournament, because the tournaments have banned most stages that would be good for Mountaineer. Really wonderful HP stat. Attack stat's also really good, and the defense stat is pretty bad. Here's another issue of the typing makes it pretty bad, because bug typing is just not good. Poison typing is not the best. These types are not good defensively. However, what this has over Charizard is the movement range, and that's just really good. But your main selling point is Vanguard. Your main selling point is Vanguard because that will do so much extra damage if it goes first. Because going first with your Pokemon that has Vanguard is going to be like, I believe it's a 1.5 times or 2 times. It's the equivalent of having an attack boost, I'm pretty sure. You always want to do this whenever you can, but it is risky because that means you have to play around whatever that Pokemon is doing. Let's go ahead and look at Twin Needle. Very offensively strong because this will break through Sturdy. Sturdy doesn't come up often, but this will break Sturdy because it hits multiple times. It hits 2 to 3 in specific, and it has a 20% chance to poison on every single hit. This is a bug type move. So that is really strong. It's going to do a lot of damage. 15 damage per multi-hit. Very strong multi-hit move. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in another glass cannon. This thing, you want it to get in and get out. If it gets hit, it's gone. The difference between these Glass Cannons and Solar Sweepers is that these Solar Sweepers can take a hit. They have just one typing that isn't a bad typing. It's only if they run into an issue typing that they might start taking damage, but they won't be just wiped. As we'll see in the future with certain mons like Rhyperior. But we'll go ahead and move on to Ekans, which is going to be starting another category. This is going to be the start of your offensive support. Ekans' goal here is to basically cause the opponent to have issues with their team. Because this is going to be your Pokemon that constantly poisons the target and then uses their abilities to even worsen the status of your opponents. And you have multiple options to do this too. The one fault of Ekans has to be its movement range and also lack of bulk, which is fine. The speed stat is very mediocre. The HP is fine. HP is probably the best stat by far. However, the defense doesn't make up for much. Intimidate is really good because that means what's within 2 spaces of Ekans as soon as Ekans takes its turn, or right before it takes its turn. No, actually, it's whenever the opponents take their turn, whichever was within 2 spaces of the Intimidate mon. Their attacks halved. That's very strong. Frighten is basically the same thing, except for both speed and range, except it's not half speed, it's just -1 speed, so it'd be 0.67. Which, speed is extremely vital in Conquest. It's probably more important than main games, because that decides your accuracy and evasion too here. Lowered speed means lowered accuracy, lowered evasion. It's terrible. You don't want that. And if you're running into a Pokemon with Poison Sting, specifically Twin Dragons Poison Sting, which has a roughly 50% chance to poison, hitting 2 tiles, that's rough. You're going to have terrible issues with this. If this thing hits you, you're most likely poisoned, so you're going to have to play around that. You're going to have to hope that you have something that can get rid of poison. You want to have, like, Audino in your team. You want to have something that stops this from snowballing. So we're going to call this our offensive support. This is going to basically cause the opponent to be crippled with also decent damage going on at the same time. Usually these offensive support mons have an issue with either range or being hit. If they get hit, they're going to have issues. So Ekans is going to be a perfect example of offensive support. Let's go ahead and move on to Arbok. Arbok is probably going to be not going to be an offensive support. It's more just an offensive Pokemon. While it does have abilities that are support-like, it is more focused in dealing damage. It may have secondary effects that cause status, but the main gimmick of Arbok is to do harsh damage to a small group of targets. And especially knock them away. That is going to be a theme, and that is going to be the positioning sweeper. Those mons that are positioning sweepers are going to mess with the positioning of the opponent. It's technically like a debuff in a way. So, if we go ahead and take a look at Sludge Wave, what this does, it's basically a row in front of you and then a row 3 ahead of you. That's the move range. It hits 6 tiles. And it hits twice, and it does knockback. It's low power, admittedly, for a move. So, in a certain case, you would think it's more support-like, because it hits twice and it, has a chance to poison, and yeah, you think this is support. But the main point of this is actually to do damage, because of just the sheer amount of attack that these two Pokemon have, and also to knock the opponent away. In an event where there's a wall behind the targets, they're going to be hit 2 times, regardless. If the Pokemon that is using it has momentum, the targets will be hit 2 times. If not, they'll be hit 1 time, but they'll be sent up to 2 tiles away, which is really important. You want Pokemon to be sent far away. That is going to be really helpful, because that basically hurts the opponent's range and being able to hit you. So what this is going to be is basically like a debuffer in a sort. Yeah, this is your positional sweeper. We're gonna go ahead and label that. I might rename these. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now. I might rename these to fit better. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to Meowth. Meowth, unfortunately, does not have good abilities, admittedly. The abilities are really terrible. You're only ever going to use Mountaineer. The other two are only usable in-game for getting money, which is not useful in battle. However, it does have a lot of speed. It has a lot of speed, meaning that its attacks are going to almost always hit compared to other Pokemon on the field. Movement range of 5 is insanely good, no matter what Pokemon is using it. We're going to go ahead and talk about Fury Swipes. Fury Swipes, I should say, every single multi-hit in Pokemon Conquest is a good move. Because, not just because it breaks sturdy, because they just generally do a lot of damage. If this thing hits 5 times, it's going to do more damage than post-nerf Infernape. Post-nerf, not pre-nerf. Pre-nerf Infernape is the most stupid thing ever. What were they thinking? But this thing could do... You'd think power would be, oh, if it has a power of 8 and hits 5 times, it's equal to 40 power. No, it's a slow scale. It'd be like more like 60 power if it hit 5 times. Which, I should say, high jump kick is 65 power. So, this thing could be as strong as a high jump kick, or as weak as a quick attack, dependent on just your luck. That's why you raised it to 100% length, so it hits 4 to 5 times. But this is basically the epitome of a solo sweeper. Its goal is to just take out whatever it can, and it has the freedom to maneuver to whatever opponent it likes to. Persian is the first example of many normal types that's goal is to debuff. It's not necessarily a support. The entire thing is to just cause issues for the opponent. So, if you can see the move and you've played mainline games, you should know what Fake Out does. Fake Out is very strong in being able to cause a single opponent to basically be neutered. Having Fake Out is very strong, and basically, it will guaranteed flinch them on. However, in Pokemon Conquest, no Pokemon can be flinched 2 turns in a row. So, it might have some issues in, like, reliability if it gets cornered by mons that are already flinched. So, what are its benefits? Well, it has a wonderful HP stat and a wonderful speed stat. So, with that, it can kind of just hit whatever it wants. If it hits the Fake Out, it will flinch. Insanely good. You always want that. The flinching with Fake Out, it does have a low accuracy. It's very strong and can cause a single Pokemon to be useless for a turn. Fake Out is not very strong. Its only gimmick is to flinch. That's all it does. So basically, it's a debuffer. All it does is get in the way of the opponent. It's not exactly supporting your team, it's hurting the opponent. So this is your just classic debuffer. So, we're going to go ahead and move on to Abra, which prematurely, put that here. And that is because one of its abilities is not good in practice. It's Share, and that's only going to work in mainline. Life Force is going to keep it going, basically. And Instinct is going to keep it alive. And its main goal is to walk up to your opponent and flinch them. But it is a chance. It's not guaranteed. So, it can be rough. So, it's something you have to play around, basically. Albeit, I might say that this is more of a defensive support. Because Teleport doesn't do damage. It can't do damage. It can flinch. It cannot do damage. So, it may apply more as a defensive Pokemon, But I guess I can kind of just make this defensive support because I can't really say that Fake Out's offensive, huh? Yeah, I'll say this is a defensive support. That encompasses more. There's not exactly any Pokemon that are just pure defense. I should say that. So, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Kadabra. This is a lot better. Perception will allow you to not hit your own allies. Life Force and Instinct we already brought up. Psybeam is pretty strong. We have 185 HP, which is pretty decent. 239 attack, very strong. 209 speed, very strong. This thing is very frail. So let's go ahead and take a look at Psybeam. In particular, it has a 10% chance to confuse. Pretty good. Calm 3 tiles, not bad. Just overall pretty strong. So, what I'm going to go ahead and say is I'm going to go ahead and say this is a glass cannon. If Kadabra gets hit, it's going to have trouble. The confusion chance is not going to pop up that often. Confusion is not good in Conquest at all. It's definitely worse than base game. Not even just base game, but also mainline games. So, it's iffy. Very strong, though. If it lands hits, which it will with that speed, very strong. Alakazam is going to basically just be an extension of that. Life Force does get to keep it alive a lot longer, but it's just generally pretty strong. Psychic is not going to do much. However, it does have a pretty good chance of lowering the target's defense. However, I'm still going to call this a glass cannon, because if it takes hits, it's gone. It's going to have bad trouble with taking hits. So, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next, but first, I'm going to go ahead and add some categories, because I know that they're going to be here, and that is going to be balance and pure defense. And also, I did say that positional sweeper is true, but there's also things that knock back as just support. So I'm going to do positional support. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to Machop. In which we have Guts, Momentum, and Bodyguard. If this thing gets statused, you'd be in for some real trouble. So, very strong HP, very strong attack, excuse me, terrible defense, terrible speed. The main goal of this thing, go and hope for a hit. If it hits, it scores. However, it's going to have difficulty in doing that. So, Machop in itself is not going to be doing that much. It does have a high critical hit chance. Very strong in Gen 5, because that is double damage. You want double damage. You always want double damage. High crit rate, I believe, is a 1 in 8 in this game. Much better than like your usual 1 in 32. Always hoping for this to happen. So, we're going to call this a solo sweeper. Because, again, it's going to get in and try to hit one thing. Take it out. So, we're going to go ahead and move on to Machoke. And, admittedly, I'm just going to go ahead and start putting it right there. Because that's kind of its only goal. It is just Wake Up Slap. Wake Up Slap is kind of just stronger. It's stronger Karate Chop. However, it does do double damage if the target is asleep, which I feel like people are not trying to make a pun here, but people are sleeping on it. Very strong. If you get the opponent to be asleep, Wake Up Slap is stupid. I'm pretty sure people don't know that this is a thing, and I'm gonna eventually show them. A certain Peewee would love this. Bodyguard is good, but I don't think it's that great for Machoke, personally. Momentum is good, Guts is great, so you just kind of have to pick your poison there. Yeah, Machoke is very good. Machamp, has a custom move called Storm Blow, and this is basically something that is going to keep on getting better. This thing has a lot of HP, and quite a bit of defense, a lot of attack, no speed. So this thing is going to be very, very strong. It's going to have a lot of brute strength, and that's kind of what you want in a Pokemon here. And that's gonna like work on taking out your opponent. So this thing is going to lower its own defense, but it has a high crit chance, so it's basically like a better Karate Chop. It hits 8 spaces, which is a lot, and it also knocks the opponent back. This thing is going to not only do a lot of damage, but also move the opponents in a way that will allow other Pokemon to do a lot of damage. As such, this is a positional sweeper. This is going to purposely put the opponents into a state where they can get hurt even more, of which it's really difficult to play around. We're gonna go ahead and move on to Timber. Actually, no, we're going Pokédex order, aren't we? Let's go to Ghastly. Ghastly. I'm in the dark. I cannot see my keyboard. This is a really wonderful stat spread. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to Distant Glass Cannon, and I'm making another one called Solo Glass Cannon, because I feel like you can apply that differently. And this is like, I'm gonna just change this to offense, like offensive, or I guess pure offense. This is gonna be your pure offense. And I feel like I can do that because I feel like this is your Solo Glass Cannon. This is a Solo Glass Cannon. No, I feel like let's go back to Machop. Yeah, Machop is gonna be a Solo Glass Cannon. And we go and take a look at like Meowth or something. This thing has pretty bad speed. This is gonna be your Solo Glass Cannon. But yeah, let's go ahead and go back to Ghastly. This thing has Levitate, Prankster, and Daze. Prankster is +2 range when there's nobody nearby, which is really good because the max is 6, and this will get you to 6. Daze sends nearby opponents to sleep, which is very supportive. However, I feel like that's not the main goal of Ghastly. It also has Levitate, which is always good, especially with 4 range. If we go ahead and check Lick. Lick is not that strong, but it can paralyze. But the main appeal here is if you look at that attack at this stage, super strong. Very, very much strong. You're looking for this if you want a sweeper that's going to take out 1 mon. Ghost types are generally very strong. They can only run into issues with mainly steel and normal. So I'm going to call this your Solo Glass Cannon, because it generally just has decent stats and everything but defense. The attack doesn't nearly match the defense, and the speed is wonderful. So, yeah. We're going to go ahead and move on to Haunter. This is probably going to be an offensive support again, because this does a lot of damage. It's very speedy. And I would say it's a Distant Glass Cannon, but it has a decent HP stat. It has Daze as well. and its main purpose with Sludge Bomb is to poison the target. And this does come up a lot because it's just how many targets this hits. So we're going to put this in offensive support. From here, let's go ahead and move to Ghastly. Not Ghastly, sorry. Gengar. Gengar is the easiest, like, solo glass cannon ever. Actually, no, it has a lot of HP and defense going for it, so we're gonna go pure offense. This thing loves to do damage. It will do a lot of damage. It only hits one target. If it hits that target, it's gone. However, it's very luck-based. And that is why it's pure offense and not a solo glass cannon, because this thing doesn't exactly die too much. It does a lot of damage, though. Very speedy, has a lot of HP, has a decent defense stat for what it's worth. So it's probably going to take out the opponent, but it's not exactly going to be immediately taken out. So it's very luck-reliant. Next up, Onyx. This thing is going to be pure defense. This is going to be your defensive support, most likely. And that is just because of it's going to do stuff that is made to make the opponent have difficulty. And it's going to be very defensive. Its whole goal is to keep itself alive or cause issues for the opponent. As you can see here, this defense and HP stat very, very high. The speed stat's really high. The attack stat is not, which is fine because it hits 4 targets with Rock Tomb, of which it lowers target range and speed. So this is your pure defense. It's not going to do much more than defense. It's going to stay alive. This is a banner user right here. And if anything, if we want to if we want to be broad, we can I can put in parentheses like banner killer and banner user, because it's kind of true. This is your banner killer and this is your banner user. That's you always want to have those mons on your banner because they're just so helpful. But from here, we're gonna go ahead and go to Rhyhorn because that is next in the decks. This is going to be kind of tanky, relatively tanky. It has Mud Slap. Mud Slap is going to lower accuracy. It's not going to lower speed. Lowering accuracy is going to do more to lowering accuracy than lowering speed. It has less of a modifier. This thing's going to take a lot of hits. It's not going to be able to hit often. It has a pretty decent attack stat. The abilities are very defensive based. Mud Slap is going to lower accuracy. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this defensive support. From here, we're going to go ahead and go Rhydon. Rhydon, kind of a similar state, but it's also, it's more so balance, if anything, because this thing has both really high attack, and then if you combine HP and defense, kind of like half or whatever, also kind of the same there in bulk. The speed is iffy. Its move, Scorching Sand, is very similar to just like a special Fire Fang in this instance, and that is a very good get off me technique. It can take hits, it can deal hits, it can be whatever you want in the situation. It's not going to be the best thing in whatever situation you want, but it's going to be strong in whatever you can do. It's like a jack of all trades here. From here we have Rhyperior. No, actually we don't, because I'm not used to... Look, this tier list, not made by me. I mean, the tier list I'm making right now is by me. The order of Pokemon, not by me. I would have preferred if it was in Dex order. But you know, we're going Scyther. Alright. Scyther is going to be very strong over time. This is going to, basically, this is going to have to take a while to rack up to start killing. It's going to need a lot to get a kill. So, as a lot of attack, a lot of speed, a lot of HP, this is very much just across the board very good. But I will say at first, this Fury Cutter will suck. Fury Cutter will suck on the first 2 hits. Everybody that knows Fury Cutter will know that. Fury Cutter sucks on the first 2 hits. So, what most people usually do is farm on your own ally Pokemon that is resistant to it, that has low speed, so that it can, you know, do a lot of damage later to the opponents. So, let's go ahead and take a look at this move, Fury Cutter. It doubles power with consecutive hits, we know this. 9 power, 90 actually. Pretty low. But, just very strong overall. Once it gets to 3 hits, you're doing a ton of damage to the opponent, and it's going to keep going and going and going until you eventually miss. So, I'm not exactly where I should put this. I feel like I might have to make another category for it, and that'd be fine, I guess, but like, I don't want to divvy this out into too many things. When I put it in pure offense, I mean, it has quite a decent HP and defense stat, but Bug and Flying sucks, admittedly. I'm gonna change this to wide. I don't know why I keep changing this, but like, broad. Broad glass cannon, there we go. Yeah, we're gonna put this right here. This thing is going to take a lot of hits super effectively from many different types. It doesn't have a lot of range. While it is a flying type, it's not going to get around that well, because if it gets hit with a rock type, it's gone. It's going to take a while to be a glass cannon too, but it's a very strong one. Admittedly, it's going to be hitting 3 targets at once. It's going to be doing a lot of damage. And its abilities are going to enable this. In the times that it could be, you know, like at low health, it's going to start either having higher stats in one way or another. Or parry, in which it's going to cause more evasion. Lapras, pure defense. The thing is, its only goal is to stay alive. You want this on a banner. You absolutely want this on a banner. This thing is going to stay alive, deal little bits of damage with Ice Beam. It has access to Water Absorb, which you can use your own water type to heal it. Wave Rider isn't going to come up often. Shell Armor is good, because you just can't get crit that way. However, the one issue with this is that its speed is pretty bad. The defense doesn't matter when that HP stat's 350, basically. Attack stat's good. It is not bad at all, because you can abuse Water Absorb with your own water type to get this thing much stronger. 10% freeze chance. That's always helpful. It's never usually going to pop up. With how many targets you're usually hitting in a turn, and if you use this as a banner sitter, it's going to come up way more often than you think. From here, I do think it does fit there, so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go to Snorlax. That's Snorunt. Snorlax. Alright. This is going to be a hard one, because it fits in 2 different categories, I feel. This is both like a offensive support, and yet also pure defense at the same time. Actually, it's more like a defensive support, because this thing takes a lot of hits, and can paralyze. It can do a lot of damage at the same. If anything, this is a balance. This is balance. Yes, this is balance, because it's going to do a lot of damage. There's a lot of things that enable it to take a lot of damage, and it can also paralyze. It's another multi-tool, basically. An issue is that it has speed, so it's going to be rough, but very helpful. If we go ahead and take a look at this move, as I'm describing, it hits the ring 2 ahead, which is the same range as Fire Spin. Pre-nerf Fire Spin, and has a 30% chance to paralyze. So if this thing hits, it's going to be pretty difficult to work around. So, pretty rough. Next, we're actually getting into a legendary here. Articuno. I'm not gonna try to get to the biases of, you know, big number better, but like the defense and HP here is really good. The attack is pretty good. The speed is not too great in practice. But it is an Ice from Flying type, which is a good offensive typing. It can be rough defensively, but if it needs to, it can get away with its movement range. This is more of a broad glass cannon because while its HP and defense is pretty high, the typing is abysmal. Though, admittedly, I should say that this is more like balance, if anything. This thing can take quite a few hits. This thing can deal a ton of damage. Defense stats are helpful. It's just that its types are not great for it. So, personally, I do think that this does belong in probably... This is a hard one. Because positionally, it's fine. I should also say that Ice Burn, it can burn and has a smaller chance to freeze. It hits 3 tiles, 2 away from it. It's very strong. Awesome. My music stopped. I hate it here. Anyways, this should probably go in... Honestly, just pure offense. This thing has a lot of attack and speed, and its HP are even higher than it, but its goal is to do a lot of damage. This thing isn't exactly going to be a good banner setter because it will die from a single hit. Sure, you can give that same probably argument to Onyx, but the stats here all around are good, and its goal is attack. Honestly, I'm not sure about this one. I'm going to come back to Articuno later. I'm probably going to put this thing in balance later. You know what? We're doing it now. And it's mainly because of its stats. Frostbite is a pretty good defensively. Ice Burn is very strong offensively. Its stats are both good offensively and defensively. This can do whatever you want. Okay, we're good with that. Dratini. This is going to be offensive support, for sure. Mood Maker is one of the most wonderful abilities. Even though its attack and speed are generally not that great, this is a pretty balanced stat spread. It's definitely support. Dragon is hard to resist in this gen, and this Dragon Breath is going to paralyze. We love paralysis here. Paralysis is the best status in Conquest, for sure. You need this status. You need the status desperately. So, this is offensive support. This is going to do a lot of paralysis to the opponent. It's a chance, but it's a pretty good chance, admittedly. So next, we're going to go ahead and move on to Dragonair. And again, this is going to be another offensive support, for sure. Because what this is going to do is Breaking Swipe is going to lower the target's attack by a 50% chance to lower the target's attack. It has a lot of things to keep itself sustained. And it's pretty good. If anything, I might change this to like debuffer. I'm changing this to debuffer because I feel like that fits better. Debuffer. I can put these guys here. Because paralysis just isn't the same as paralysis isn't the same as poison. Because poison is actually whittling down their health and stuff. Or causing them to actually, you know, do less damage. Or I guess I can, you know, just like put both, like debuffer, defensive support. It's not quite, you know, causing the opponent to have difficulties, but yeah. And by this, I feel like I should maybe put this as offensive support. Because it's inherently causing the opponent to not be able to do something. What is my logic here? I'll keep it here. I'll trust my original judgment. So, yeah. This is processed, so it causes extra stunning. This is doing actual damage, but, like, its main goal is just to cause something to be stagnated for a bit. Dragonite, this is going to probably be pure damage. However, I'll say that this is probably actually offensive support. Because confidence. I'm not going to give this to every single confidence mon, I'm sure. But this thing is going to be extremely strong, do a lot of damage, and just generally help out your allies. I will say its speed stat is very unfortunate, but it does work out. You know what? No, we're going balance. We're going balance. Why I say balance? Balance is very strong because its HP is pretty high, its attack is pretty high, defense is pretty high, I guess. Speed stats, it's not great. But overall, this is a pretty balanced set. Confidence has a lot of help to it. It has a lot of tools to do whichever it wants to do. So I'm going to go ahead and sit with that. Dragon Rush, I should say, hits 4 tiles and it moves 2 spaces forward and does flinch. Larvitar, this is offensive support. I can guarantee you that. I'm doing it in the wrong order, but you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. We don't care. Offensive support. Because Guts, very strong for itself. Rock Tomb, as we already brought up with Onyx before, is a supporting move. The reason why Onyx is there is just because of its stats, mainly. But this one, Larvitar is more offensive than anything else, compared to Onyx. Anything else that's using Rock Tomb, which is just Onyx. But this damage output is going to be very strong, so you're probably going to like using like Guts or Stealth. It's keeping itself supported, and it's causing the opponents to be weaker. In which it's more so setting up an opportunity for your allies, less than causing issues for your opponent. That's sort of my line between offensive support and debuffer. Because offensive is basically setting up something for your allies, that excluding hex effect bonuses, because that's always technically buffing your allies. I'm trying not to count that in, because that would just kind of make everything a debuff. And then debuffers are causing something to make the opponents have issues. Because having an opponent, flinched isn't going to change anything. And paralysis raising, lowering their evasion doesn't really come up as often as you think it would. It's more so them being able to hit you that is an issue. So I feel like that aligns more with debuff. So yeah, I do think that this is offensive support because Rock Tomb is just a supportive move. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to where we're supposed to go, as in Mewtwo. This is a glass cannon, absolutely. What this thing's going to do is going to do a lot of damage in a broad range, has a lot of range to do that, has the attack and speed to do it. It's going to have terrible HP and speed, HP and defense in practice, especially defense. The HP might be its strongest stat, but when that defense is going to be like 100 in practice, it won't matter. It will not matter at all. Even with pressure, which pressure is not a good ability for this thing, you don't want to keep things close to this thing because its goal is to attack from distance. However, unless you're trying to keep, distant glass cannons to you so that they can't attack you, that's a good usage for it, but that's going to be a hard situation. Side Strike hits a little funny range that hits a full 3x3 square right in front of the user. Admittedly, though, it's pretty weak for a legendary. So it's going to be more of a glass cannon. It's going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to get hurt really hard back. Next is Mareep, and before I even switch the tab, we are going defensive support. Because Mareep has this little move called Nuzzle, and this thing has a wonderful HP stat. Decent defense, decent attack, mediocre speed. Mediocre speed is not an issue. Even though Nuzzle doesn't have good accuracy, Nuzzle has an 80% chance at 100% link to paralyze, 60% not 100%. Very strong. We already mentioned that paralysis is the strongest ability in the game. Now, Mareep also has access to static, which means that it can cause the opponent to be paralyzed by being hit, or interference, which lowers the accuracy of adjacent opponents. Stacked with paralysis is very good. And Nuzzle only hits one tile. Very low damage, very low accuracy. But once it hits, it does score. So you do want to play around it, basically. Flaffy. Admittedly, I have not played around with Flaffy that much to really know how good it is, but I feel like this is gonna be like balance. This is gonna be balance because your team is gonna be wholly based on if this thing is fast enough compared to your opponent. It's not exactly going to be sweeping. It has a lot of HP and a lot of defense, and it also has the power to take out a single opponent. So it has both the job of a pure offense and also a bit of a tank. But it's not going to be nearly as good as something that's focused in being pure offense or being a pure tank. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Ampharos, which is also pretty supportive, but I would say... No, I'd say this is a debuffer as well. Or just defensive support. Just specifically defensive support. So we have that in parentheses. And that is because of Volt Switch. Volt Switch allows you to bring in an ally that's behind you, or move an opponent behind you and swap places while you also attack the thing that's 2 spaces in front of you. Positional movement is very good. I would say I think this is actually more in positional support, because this is going to it's going to do a fair bit of damage, and it's also going to help an ally or sometimes be difficult for an opponent with movement. So we're going to go ahead and go to Mischievous. And Astonish is pretty decent. It has a chance to flinch 1 tile. Levitate's good. Frightens very good. Shackle is very good. Overall, this thing is pretty much balanced. It's not going to be offensive. It's not going to be super defensive. It has 1 goal, and it's to flinch, and it's a chance. Pretty decent damage for a pre-evo, I'll admit it. So, kind of just balanced. It doesn't do much. Pineco. Pineco is pretty decent. Admittedly, though, its speed is terrible. You don't want to be working with this that often. Pineco Sturdy is decent, but not usually going to come up. Explode is funny. Admittedly, it's kind of just funny. And Jagged Edge. This thing, you generally think it'd be like a good banner setter, and personally, I do agree. But it could have a rough time with being a bug type. We'll say why later. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put this in pure defense. This thing only has things going for it in HP and defense at this low stage. So yeah, it's a bit worrisome for it. Is Wooper at the bottom or something? Yeah, it is. Weird. Okay. Is it not fully in order? Okay. You know what? Fine. Okay. I'll go back to that in a sec. I'll do Fortress and then go to the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, I think it fits best in pure defense, because the thing as a banner sitter would be really good as explode. If something is attacking you and you explode, well, they'll be punished for attacking you. Albeit, this can also attack your own allies. It's entirely based on your positioning. So next, we're going to do Fortress. And when I say that this is an offensive sweeper, I'm not kidding. This looks like a joke. I'm not joking. So, the main thing with Fortress is that speed is abysmal, and that's a good thing. Basically, we already know that Gyro Ball scales off of your speed compared to the opponent's. And well, 75 speed is really low. Sorry. 75 speed's really low. And Gyro Ball doing way less whenever it's faster also means that it's going to do way more when it's slower. 75 speed is one of the worst speeds in the game, so that's going to do a ton of damage. It's also going to take a lot of hits. However, if you run into a fire type, it's going to be an issue. So honestly, my opinion is sort of swaying to balance. I would say defense if it wasn't for the fact that Gyro Ball is so strong under the right conditions. Your main issue is genuinely just your typing. If this thing didn't take 4 times damage from a fire type, this would be a good Pokemon. And this is not a good banner sitter because it's forced to move. It's not exactly pure defense because it has an attack stat, a really good one at that. So, I don't know. I think it sits better at balance than it does pure defense. Let's go ahead and start doing the, for some reason, left at the bottom mons here. We're going to start with Eevee. Eevee is not good. Admittedly, they have no gimmick to their move. It is just an attack. It does nothing but that attack. So, the thing has Celebrate, Sprint, and Hero. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to benefit off of attacking one thing. And what does that mean? Hello, pure offense. Its goal is to get in and take out one thing. Quick and easy. Next, Vaporeon. Vaporeon is going to be your Broad Sweeper. And it's also going to be a bit of an offensive support, too. I'm going to go into... I wouldn't say it's actually a Glass Cannon. I'm actually going to say this is Balance. And that is because it has a lot of HP and a lot of attack. It hits a lot of squares. Has things that can keep itself sustained. And also can also sustain the damage of allies with Aqua Boost. This thing is an all-around good Pokemon because it just does a lot of damage and also causes a lot of damage to be dealt from allies to opponents with Aqua Boost. Wave Rider also allows it to do its own damage. Vaporeon basically has all the options it has to just do tons of damage. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to, I believe, Jolteon. Jolteon's next. Alright. Rising Voltage is a very strong move. It's also very strong in the event of causing paralysis. It can do a 50% chance to paralyze. 15, not 50. And basically, it hits 4 targets and moves forward 2. Sprint is very good. It only has 3 range at base, so Sprint is very helpful. Run Up, very strong because it allows you to do more damage upon how many tiles you move. Multiple Absorb is also good, but I feel like you are going to see Run Up and Sprint more. Probably, I would say Balance, but this thing has no defense. This is either broad glass cannon or offensive support. And I should also note that Rising Voltage has a lot of ways to benefit from status, because it can do double damage on status mods. So you know what? Broad glass cannon, because it just does a lot of damage, and if it gets hit a lot, it is going to suffer. Next up, Espeon. No, Flareon. Flareon used to be the best Pokemon in the game. I had to nerf it. There's Magikarp. Okay, I was wondering because I had something in my mind about it. It has access to Confidence, has access to Flash Fire, has access to Flame Boost. Again, really good abilities. This is a broad glass cannon for sure. It's doing a lot of damage and helping allies, but it's not going to survive. So you're gonna have to be really on making sure that this thing is in good positioning to stay alive. Okay, from here we're gonna go to Espeon. Mountaineer, Instinct, Share. There's only one good ability here. That's probably all you're gonna ever use. Instinct. Instinct is good. It's gonna sustain itself. It's gonna do a lot of damage with Psybeam. I should also note that Psybeam actually has a better rate of confusion, because I'm in the wrong RL mod right now, admittedly. I'm pretty sure it should, at least. Psybeam. Oh, I guess I didn't raise it. Huh. I promised to raise that. Fine, it's gonna be 20% in the next update. Anyways, Espeon. Espeon has a very strong attack stat, very good speed stat. HP stat's also good. The defense stat is also just but you can kind of get away with it because of all of its other stats. Instinct also kind of helps it out there too. I wouldn't exactly say this is a glass cannon. While it is strong, it's also very much supportive. I feel like this is going to be defensive support, because this thing is confusing. Confusing is very strong.
Right now, Twin Dragons.
You're so right. Right now, I've been monologuing for an hour.
Oh shit! Who's a villain?
Holy shit! I've been talking to myself for a whole hour, just ranking these Pokemon based off of rolls.
What were you thinking to yourself?
A lot. A lot of things. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Sick. I'm probably gonna end off after Gen 2, and I want to play Twin Dragons. So honestly, I'm gonna try to get this done as quick as possible. Right now, I think, because I'm trying to put these into categories of just like what they do, like their roles. So next up, Umbreon. Really good HP stat, really good defense stat, mediocre attack and speed. Foul play is very strong in terms of being able to use the opponent's attack, so the attack stat doesn't really matter. Dodge and momentum is also good as long as I shackle. This is definitely I feel like this is pure defense. I've actually put it there because this thing.
I feel like it was pure defense, though. I feel like if it has shackles specifically, it could be a debuffer.
Yeah, I do agree. I feel like broadly speaking, it's definitely pure defense, but yeah, I agree that it would be a debuffer if it was running shackle. So far with these, do you want to like explain these, sort of?
I think I get them. I think I get them.
Yeah. The main ones I kind of want to explain is like the difference between these top three. Pure offense is basically very strong attacker.
Pure offense.
Pure.
It's like you really want to kill someone.
You want to kill one target, like specifically one target, but you don't want to basically die in one hit.
Yeah, they're like the bruisers pretty much.
Solo Glass
right?
Cannon, they will die in one hit, but they'll also kill something in one hit, basically.
So they're like the one hit targets.
Yeah. These
And then
specifically hit
broad is
one
like
thing. Yeah, broad, they will hit multiple things. And they'll also get killed in one hit. They'll hit multiple
gotcha.
hit
That
things for
makes
like a
sense.
lot of like a decent amount of damage. Yeah, I just wanted to make the main difference between pure offense and solo glass cannon. Offensive support is basically what's setting offensive support and defensive support apart is it helping my team or is it debuffing the opponent? And trying to find the difference between that is weird because I feel like poisoning the opponent is hurting them. I mean, I guess more it's helping you because it's taking them out faster, and paralysis is debuffing them because yeah. Have you seen that
Yeah.
accuracy? It's causing them to have issues, while poisoning them is causing you to have a good position. That's why Rock Tomb Larvitar is here because it's causing their speed and range to be lowered, which allows you to um, hit more often. While paralysis is, I feel like it's a different thing than lowering speed. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but I don't know. It's different.
I feel like it depends on the move itself as well. Because like Rock 2 actually does damage.
Yeah, right. Which is weird because like all these support moves do damage except for Abra.
Like
Um,
the amount of damage, you know?
right. Yeah. Which is that's also mainly why it's also being separated because like this one I was unsure and then I realized wow this thing does like 5 damage, so I put it here. Um,
Average second stage normal type.
yeah. Rhyhorn is Mud Slap, so that's lowering accuracy. It's basically causing issues for the opponent. That's not gonna make your ally do more damage or anything. So that one makes sense. Dratini and Mareep are paralysis. And Espeon is confusion. Its whole goal is to confuse you. And Dratini is breaking swipe. Not Dratini, sorry, Dragonair, which is lowering attack. Again, it's not gonna help you. It's gonna hurt them. Um, Poison, I feel like being offensive support is mainly also because it's literally because the mods are offensive, and not because what their status is doing as offensive. It is more of a debuffer, but what they're doing is offensive. Let's see, what's next? Oh, I want to just do Gen 1 and 2 for now, so let's skip those. Pikachu. Pikachu,
It's a
Thunderbolt.
bastard.
Yeah, it's a bastard. Static Celebrate Lightning Rod. 243 HP, 142 attack, 101 defense, 249 speed. This thing is going to hit whatever it can. If it can hit, it will hit. Celebrate is just added onto that. While it has a wonderful HP stat, that defense stat is terrible, and it's going to be even worse in practice.
It's a good dodge tank though, because like as you know, like in both mine and Nathan's matches, you saw how it had
Yeah, it had
like
wonderful evasion.
yeah.
I might put that in as its own category. I might make dodge tank a category, or it might be like pure.
I feel like you would put it into offensive support.
I agree. I agree. Because not only is it doing a lot of damage, it also has a chance of paralysis, and it also just lives forever. It can sit on a banner if it's not pure defense, especially now with stats. So it tanks, but not because it has a high defense stat, but because it has a lot of evasion, because of its speed. From there, we have Raichu.
Raichu a bomb? Raichu is a bomb. That's speed.
Yeah, Raichu has less speed, and in practice is going to have even worse speed. Does have access to Instinct, though. Lightning Rod is probably never going to be used on this thing, admittedly. Static is decent. HP stats not much higher. Attack stats a lot higher, I feel like. Defense stats a lot higher as well. So this is becoming like more balanced out. It can still be a pretty good evasion tank, I feel, but it's not going to be the same caliber as Pikachu. This can do a lot of different things, but also its move Volt Switch is also very important to keep in mind. So it's pretty supportive, admittedly, but it's also
I feel like it's a little
balance.
bit of everything.
I feel like it's balance. I feel like it's
Yeah,
balance.
it's a little bit of everything. A little bit of positioning, a little bit little bit speedy, a little bit
Yeah,
targeting.
yeah. It kind of just does what it wants. It has many roles you can do for it. Um, Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff admittedly is not good. For the most part. Tanky as
This
fuck
is
though. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but it's going to hit anything at once. It's not going to hit it for a lot. Um, it's also pretty.
defense.
I have a feeling that I'd like to say that this is either pure defense or defensive support. I think I'd go pure defense. While its actual defense is not good, its HP more than makes up for it. It's probably going to get hit by with whatever is going to strike it. Movement range, it'll get to banners very quickly. It will sit on a banner whenever it wants. Wigglytuff, it's going to be an interesting one. Again, another high HP, it only raises by 2, but everything else is going to be raised by a lot more. Attack stats pretty decent. Speed stats and defense stats not good.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Positional sweeper.
I agree. Because with echoed voice, it basically can just hit. It hits an area around it and does a lot of damage as it grows. Sure, I did put Scyther in Broad Glass Cannon, but that's mainly because of its lack of defense. This thing has a lot of defense going for it, and
You fit so much HP.
it's so much HP. So much HP. And also is able to support via its abilities. Lullaby is also a debuffer. Moonmaker is very strong. Confidence is very strong. Lullabies. All the abilities are strong. It's just the move itself is not strong until it hits a couple times, which is fine. It unlike Triple Axle or Sludge Wave, where if it misses once, it doesn't count. If it misses one of its targets, it's still going to keep going. It has to miss every target, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about that, but yeah. Zubat. Pinion Blitz, which has not really been used that much. It's fine, but like, it can be difficult to position, especially if you're not doing in tournament, because in tournament, 100% link it hits multiple times. Out of that, it only hits once. Sponge is good. Inner Focus is good. Momentum is good. Momentum is really enables Pinion Blitz to work really well. The attack stats pretty good. The speed stats good. HP stats really good. The defense is bad. Personally, I think this is offensive support because Pinion Blitz's secondary effect of lowering defense. It will do a lot of damage if it's multi-hit, and if it keeps lowering the target's defense every time it hits, those 2 times, that's -2 defense in turn, which is really strong, and also pushes the opponent into probably a place they don't want to be in.
This Zubat Neo Pugilist meta?
True. Knocked them onto the banner and then right off it. Let's see, Golbat. Poison Fang. This was originally the only mon that could badly poison. Interference, Inner Focus, Sponge. Already went over those abilities. Interference is freaky. HP stats really good. Everything else is kind of just okay. Speed stats good, because it's Golbat. Movement range of 5. Important to keep in mind. It only hits one target. It's only once. However, it is pretty strong. Alright. Yeah, this doesn't hit from too much damage, but it has a roughly 30% total chance to poison. 15% of that is badly poisoned, 20% is poison. So half the time you're poisoning is most likely going to be basic poison, but it can also badly poison. Very strong. I think that this could be like, I don't know about solo glass cannon. I don't know about offensive support either. It's not.
I feel like Bruce offensive support, personally.
I can stick with that. Yeah. Offensive support. Yeah. Okay. Magikarp. Magikarp. This thing does so much damage. This thing does so much damage with 38 attack.
W damage. W damage.
This thing is like Abra if it was good. Abra is still good, but this is if Abra was good. It has Moonmaker. Has a really high HP stat, really high speed stat in the game in terms of technicality, because
It's Abra if it had swag.
and that attack stat does not matter because it hits multiple times. Because we already, as I prefaced earlier, multi-hit moves are the best moves in the game. Defense is actually really good. All these stats are good. Every single one of these stats are good. Movement range of 5. Moonmaker is silly.
Fish goated with the sauce.
The fish is goated with the sauce. But what makes it offensive support instead of being just a pure offense or like balance is its move, which hits twice and has a chance to flinch on every hit. It's only 12%, but it's pretty strong. If it flinches one of those hits, it's pretty much over for that mon, honestly. Though I might
catch the inner focus. Catch the inner focus.
True. You gotta bring that Lucario, man. You got
Exactly.
You gotta take out those Boulders somehow. I'm unsure if I actually want to put this in offensive support or balance, because this thing's
offensive support.
Yeah.
Because like, especially with like a mood maker.
Yes. Yeah.
That really helps you.
You know, it's really good decoy, baby.
W decoy?
Yo, we love decoy. It's so good in tournament because it attracts enemy attacks. Yeah. Pichu.
I feel like Pichu goes wherever Reap goes, right?
Yep, it's totally defensive support because it's the same thing. It's gonna do more damage.
Faster.
It's gonna do more damage. It's faster. It's just less bulky. No, that's fine because its main thing is debuffing compared to defensive support. It is still defensive support, admittedly. The HP and defense together is not bad.
It'll dodge tank though.
It will dodge tank. It will dodge tank for sure. Because in practice, the thing is going to have more speed than Pikachu.
Let's go. We love tribal soldiers.
Or at least Raichu. It'll definitely be faster than Raichu. It's gonna be close to.
Love tribal soldiers.
Let's go. Let's see. Next up, Crobat.
Oh man, my digital footprint is gonna be crazy now that I think about it.
Crobat has a lot of HP and a lot of speed. Decent attack, mediocre defense. Prankster is good, but I don't know if you really want to waste that slot. Prankster is not the best. Is a good ability, but it's so hard to proc sometimes.
Oh, I know what it does.
+2 range when you're not within 3 tiles of another Pokemon.
So it's just Shadow Dash. Okay.
It's Shadow Dash. It's renamed Shadow Dash. I only renamed it to Prankster so I could give it to Whimsicott.
Here's what I'm thinking. Right? Pure defense Crobat.
Pure defense
Right.
Crobat.
Because it's decently bulky. It has a high speed stat.
Has abilities that enable being bulky.
Yeah.
You get bulk from inner focus. Sponge is healing. Prankster allows you to get to a banner faster if you're the only one near one, which is actually really good.
Frost Poison is also like a decent move because it has a decent hit range.
It has a pretty good hit range. It has a chance to poison, which is good for whittling down the opponent. High critical hit chance. I don't need to say anything for that one. Yeah, I can agree with that. This thing is definitely your banner sitter. You can put this thing on a banner. It's going to work. Next up, Gyarados. Waterfall, Intimidate, Frighten, Tenacity. This thing is going to do a lot of damage, and it's also going to go places. It's going to like banners, but it's not exactly going to be the best always sitting on it. It wants to keep moving, I feel.
I think it's a banner killer.
I don't know if it's like... I don't know if it's like...
Maybe a positional sweeper, honestly, because Waterfall seems like the kind of move you want positioning for.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. This thing either is putting yourself into a better position, or is going to cause some flinching issues for the opponent.
W flinch.
It also allows you to basically get the most out of your 3 range. Very helpful that way. Next up is Igglybuff. Um,
Let's go, child soldiers.
Child Soldier with Fake Out.
That seems like defensive support.
For me, it's either defensive support or honestly possibly pure. No, no, no. That 53 defense is staring right at me.
I feel like with like fake outs,
Yeah,
fake
it's
out
more
like
supportive.
lullaby and the stallion is more supportive than just sitting on it.
Yeah, I agree. Wooper, I defensive support.
Oh, is it not flip train anymore?
It is not. It is Bouncy Bubble,
Yo,
in which
I don't know what
not
that
all
does.
Bouncy Bubble is 100% healing of the damage you deal. It's a Let's Go Pikachu Eevee move.
Oh, it's that one. Okay.
Yeah, 100% of the damage dealt, you also heal. You also do damage to yourself, so if you're at super low health and do it, you might take yourself out.
I would simply be water absorb.
Yeah, it does work. It does work. It does work. In fact, you heal more than
I
you deal
would,
to yourself than you would have dealt to yourself.
I'll be water absorb.
Or you can run Aqua Boost, which is a new ability on the Wooper line. Um, Bouncy Bubble heals 100% of the damage dealt, and at 100% link, it can flinch the target.
I feel like water absorb is always the way to go, at least in the magic card meta.
Yeah, and I should say the Chevron range. It is the Brave Bird range, but it also hits yourself. Pretty good. HP, defensive wise, not that much attack. It's fine. It's salvageable. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Quagsire, really good. I wouldn't even say this is defensive. This thing is crazy offensive. This is balance, I think. And that is because of a certain move's new range.
I'm gonna review with you back on. Seems like offensive support.
Offensive support.
What is
I agree.
what's Bob-Bomb's secondary effect?
30% chance of lower accuracy. Yeah, you know what?
Okay, that might be more defensive support then.
Honestly, yeah. I think I
It,
agree.
it does do a lot of damage, but it's very inaccurate. It does have its abilities.
Yeah, the
Maybe
abilities.
on the secondary effect.
Yeah, I think I can agree with this. It's causing a secondary effect that hurts the opponent, and it's gonna be common, so it's enough to call it a supportive thing. That's why Charmander is here and not, here, because it's not common. It's gonna do more damage than anything. But yeah, this thing is gonna be tanky, and it's gonna be doing something that causes the opponent to have issues. So yeah, I agree with this. Next is those are Gen 4, so we're gonna go Steelix. Steelix.
It looks more like mid.
Sturdy is not good in Conquest, so we're just gonna move on. Jagged Edge, good. Frighten is really good. Frighten is
W Frighten. It can finally have motherfuckers at the same speed that it is.
finally. It can make Fortress do more damage. HP stat is really good. Defensive stat's really good. I think this is honestly going to be the same situation as Onyx, and where it's just going to be a banner sitter.
It's definitely a good banner because those defense stats, bro.
Those defense stats are good.
Especially with
the
like
attack stats.
Jagged Edge.
Yes, I agree. And Frighten's going to cause Pokemon to try to distance itself from it, which is not something you want when you're trying to go for a banner. Speed stats abysmal. You can't really work with that well. However,
Just hit easy.
it does have access to Earthquake, which lowers range, which isn't too helpful for being a banner sitter, but it's good damage if it hits. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Scizor. Which
Scizor sisters.
Scizor, decent, not even decent, amazing attack. That's like I think one of the first mons I've seen that their attack's higher than their HP. High HP, high defense, mediocre speed. Low range, which is actually kind of salvageable with its move range. All of its abilities are pretty offensive besides parry.
This seems like a banner killer.
I kind of agree. I agree. Because HP...
Its accessor is increased crit, right?
Yes. I feel like this is either balance or banner shitter. Because
I feel like because of its abilities being offensive oriented and the fact that X-Scissor's only effect is increased crit, that's leaning more towards Banner Killer.
like banner kill. Oh yeah, pure offense. Yeah, I agree. It's not exactly a glass cannon, even though it's bug steel. Because I mean, I personally said that this monstrosity isn't exactly a glass cannon because it's not gonna do much damage. But if it did a lot of damage, I would put it there because bug steel. But this doesn't have the same issue because it has a decent thing in both, and also something else to go with it. A certain fortress is lacking.
Just
So
dodge the Fire Blast, easy.
you're right. You're right. Because I definitely didn't remove that from the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just dodge the. You can't get hit by it if it doesn't exist.
You're right. Feint attack, inner focus, high rise melee for Sneasel. High rise is really good. It's pretty slept on, honestly. Um, inner focus is pretty good. Melee is mid. Um, it's a
The
very
attack still doo dog shit.
its attack is 150. This is like a very much a flat BST where everything is very close to each other. Feint attack is a lot stronger. It never misses. This is a high damage for an unevolved Pokemon. Like actually pretty like
It
very high.
seems like a solo class cannon.
I agree. Um, its typing does not help that.
No, bro, don't worry. It's just it'll fight only psychic types. Trust.
All right, and next up is Pupitar. Alright, I did Larvitar because of an accident, but it's fine. Pupitar has Rock Slide and has access to Shed Skin, Jagged Edge, and Shield. 272 HP, 158 defense, 188 attack, and 117 speed. This is very defensive, admittedly.
Honestly, I'd make an argument for balance.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, because
Because like
it's
Rockslide has very good move range.
has very good move range. Can
It's
cause the
pretty
opponent to be
decent
in bad.
attack.
Yeah, it's a very decent attack. It's very strong too. It has a lot of power. While it might lay at like 30 power, which is very low for a middle stage Pokemon, it doesn't really matter when it has a chance to hit 3 targets, chance to flinch at 30%, which is really good. So, I agree with balance. Moving on to our final one for now, and that's going to be Tyranitar, and I have a feeling that I kind of want to put it in Broad Glass Cannon. While its HP stat may be high, its defense stat in practice is going to be abysmal.
Also, it's Rock Dark.
It's Rock Dark, which is comical. Attack stat's really good.
You just have to worry about ground types.
Right.
Because nobody's going to be running those nerds.
Yeah. I have to worry about ground types, which is actually pretty common in the current meta. Speed stat is still abysmal, admittedly. Has Fractus to Frighten, so it can fix this issue slightly. Tenacity is good, because if it gets hit, you can cause the opponent to be flinched. Last Bastion is always nice, but not exactly for mons that are doing contact. Because if you're doing contact, it means you're getting really close. I feel like Charizard is a better Last Bastion user than Tyranitar. But yes, I believe this is a Broad Glass Cannon. Actually, there isn't that much Gen 3. We're gonna do this part of Gen 3 because I know there's some Gen 3 at the bottom. We're gonna do Gen 3. How many is that? 14, like 22, 23, 24, 25, 25. Yeah, that's 25. Let's do that. Let's do it. All right. Trico. Trico has access to Vine Whip, which now has a chance to lower defenses. Overgrow, Mountaineer, Instinct. You're probably never going to use Mountaineer in terms of competitive. Overgrow, Instinct are going to be your options. That's either defensive or offensive. It has the ability to be a really good dodge tank with its speed stat. Attack stat's also really good. HP is really good. Defense is pretty bad. So personally, I feel like this is offensive support.
I was thinking of that too, because like that lower defense is looking mighty good.
Yeah, 20% chance to lower defense on hit, and it hits 3 tiles. You can dodge tank. You have good damage. cannot get that much hit, and it's not bad enough to be a glass cannon either.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's like not. It's also a grass type.
right. It's also pure type though, so you don't have to worry about glass cannon as much as a Tyranitar. Grovyle, Razor Leaf, which is a move that is totally not inspired from Masters EX, in which it heals damage based on what it's dealt and also lowers defense at a chance.
That'd be crazy.
Has Overgrow, Mountaineer, Parry. Parry is just instinct reskinned, but a little better. But also only for contact moves. Mountaineer is, again, not that much usable. Overgrow and Parry are going to be your options. 222 HP, 185 attack, 122 defense, 206 speed. Sort of the same sort of pattern of stats. However, Razor Leaf being different, I feel like matters here. It can lower defense, but it also heals. I feel like it might still be offensive support, honestly.
I mean, personally, I feel like it's a positional sweeper.
Yeah, because it Razor Leaf does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage. The attack stat is really high for what it's worth. It wants to find a good positioning because this move's positioning is very strange. It's gonna be hard to get this to work. So yeah, I feel like I can sit with that.
Bro thinks they're playing Tetris.
True. Sceptile. I have a feeling that this is just gonna go there too. And the reason I think this is because of its move range. I'm gonna get there in a sec. Overgrow and Sprint. Sprint's really good. Overgrow's good. 256 HP, 220 attack, 159 defense, 250 speed. One of the fastest speeds in the game, except, it's going to be modified due to links. I think it's positional sweeper because of its moves range. And Leaf Blade, very strong. It hits a good range. I'm going to get to that in a second. Kind of low power for what it's worth. However, the range is a little silly. Honestly, I changed my mind.
You're building a wall?
I think it's pure offense. And I don't think it's bad. Its defense is bad enough to be a glass cannon. Cause, I don't know.
I mean, like, in practice, that's gonna be, like, a lot lower, right?
Yes. I feel like the defense, it might be a glass cannon. Would you say solar? I'd say it's broad. Because of how many tiles.
It's definitely a broad one. It's definitely broad.
Yeah. It's gonna hit a lot of tiles, but it's also gonna have a lot of trouble surviving. The HP stat is good, but it's not perfect. It can dodge tank, admittedly, but it's not gonna be as good as other mons like Pikachu or Pichu. Those are prime examples there.
You child soldier.
So true. Child soldier. Speaking of which, child soldier Aron. A little freaky with how good they are. Aron Metal Claw with a sturdy bodyguard run up. 218 HP, 150 attack, 150 defense, and 67 speed. My personal thought, balance.
I was thinking that too. Because like, even with the really low speed, in the tournament setting, that'd be like partially mitigated.
Yeah, because this HP stat is really good and this defense is really good, but Metal Claw has access to raising your attack permanently. Is it permanently? Or it's like it's a really good long time that it matters. That your attack stat is just up. And at 100% link, that's 1 in 8 chance. Very, very nice. You'll want that. Laron. I think they have Rock Slide. Yeah. No, Ironhead. Ironhead's not used that often, that's for sure. Sturdy, Bodyguard, Run Up. 243, 196, 206, and 90. Run Up again is good. Bodyguard is good. Sturdy, eh. Ironhead. One tile, chance to punch target. This is kind of offensive support.
I would agree with pure defense.
Pure defense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
It's
right.
like
The defense is really good, and bodyguards.
arguably it's not going to be doing a lot of damage
Yeah,
because it doesn't have good spread and it doesn't have like incredible attack.
yeah,
But there's defense stats.
yeah. Those are very defensive stats here, and it can also flinch. Um, but if there is anyone that is a supporter in terms of what they're doing, it's probably Aggron. But I also could argue balance. Um, Steel Spear has a chance to lower defense and attack, 40% for each. Very strong
It's
support.
offensive support personally.
Yeah, it's definitely some sort of support or balance. I agree. Because it's gonna do a lot of damage. It does do quite a lot of damage. The only issue is that speed stat isn't exactly great in practice. But if it hits, it's probably going to lower a stat. It's either going to be lowering attack or defense or both. Both happening is really rare.
It'll be lowering something, alright.
It'll
It's
be
either going to be your standards, the defense, or the attack.
or your HP. Your standards is crazy. Your standards. It also has access to run up, in which it's going to be doing a lot of damage. Bodyguard also allows it to be defense if it wants to be. So it's going to be very supportive in its attacking job, honestly. Anorith, this one's feels like just kind of a Scyther reskin, honestly. Because it also has Fury Cutter, has Battle Armor, Jagged End, and Instinct, which are actually pretty defensive. Those are all defensive abilities. But it doesn't have the actual defense stat to back it up. The HP stat is okay. The attack stats are very good. The speed is very good. And taking comparison to Scyther, we have to account for the fact that these are going to be scaled down because Anorith is NFE. I mean, low cup. That was an accident. Hold on. Hold on. Hero. Yeah, it's that. Accidentally changed from the Scyther's abilities. Anyways, if we try to keep in fact that this is going to be scaled differently because this is treated as standalone, so it's going to be 80% link compared to Anorith's 100. Anorith is going to be a lot tankier. So probably, if anything, this might be balance. I don't know. This one's hard. Because I think there's a lot of attack.
I think it's positional sweeper personally.
Yeah.
Because I say positional sweeper because although its stats might be like pretty balanced, I think what really sets it apart is the movement range, which is 3.
Yeah.
And with how Fury Cutter works, it's going to require a lot of smart positioning to make it work, but if it does work, it's going to blow up.
Yeah. Next is Armaldo, which I'm surprised nobody's used in tournament yet, but like I guess I get it. It is part bug and rock.
Listen, man, I'm a dedicated Shitter user.
I get it. Battle armor, jagged edge parry with X scissor. That's a Scissor Sisters move right there. 273 HP, 268 attack, 194 defense, and a lowered speed. Actually, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Does Boo think this is word?
Holy shit! Oh, it's by 50. Oh god, it's really bad. Speed is lowered by a significant amount, but the attack and HP is raised by a lot. X-Scissor hits a lot of range, but it wouldn't exactly. I don't know if I'd say this is pure offense.
See, honestly,
Is he broad glass
I
cannon?
feel like I don't think it's a glass cannon. This rock book is like surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I personally feel like it might be balanced.
Yeah, his stats are pretty balanced.
It's not the same. It's not the same caveat as the Anorith has, but with Fury Cutter because it just has X scissor.
Yeah. Duskull. I feel like I'm gonna put this in the same thing as Misdreavus, because it's kind of the same gist. No, the stat difference is too much. I might put this in defense.
Deal with you. That seems like a defense.
To me, yeah, it's either pure defense or defensive support. To me,
I feel like it's pure defense because isn't it so much like a one hit?
it's a one hit. That is correct. It also flinches.
Yeah.
Its main thing is
And
it
yeah, it's pure
flinches.
defense. I feel since if it wants to be defensive support, it needs to be either hitting more or doing something a lot more permanent.
Yeah, or like Shackle, but like, I feel like
Yeah.
it's gonna be pure defense most of the time. Dusclops, Ghastly Gambit is freaky. This,
What Ghastly Gambit does?
low accuracy, high damage, high crit chance, ignore stat
Gotcha.
modifiers. Basically, it's a coin flip that
This
does a
this
lot.
is
Either
just like a Fire Emblem axe.
this is a coin flip that does a lot of damage or leaves you open.
You know, I feel like that's a solo glass cannon.
Yeah, I will say though,
Yeah.
however, in practice, this thing is extremely tanky. Like, I feel like this is balance.
I mean, the reason why I feel like it's more glass cannon than balance is because it won't be hitting very often, right?
Right, yeah.
And so for every time it hits, it's probably gonna be taking like a lot of other hits,
Right.
which means that I think its bulk will be lower.
Yeah, its bulk is
And it
going to
could
be
be
pretty, a lot lower than what you see here because it's not a little cutmon. Yeah.
there is an argument that it could be defense then, but I feel like with how strong Ghastly Gambit is, if you're running Dust Clouds, you're gonna be running it for the damage.
Yeah, you're going to be running it for the damage, or you're going to be running it for the weird instance of being a banner sitter, or just running Frighten, basically.
Or if you want to run like both Disclops and Duskull.
That is true. Or another mon, Dusknor, which we're not doing yet because we're doing Gen 3. Chime Echo?
Is it time?
Chime Echo.
Chime Echo Nation, rise up.
It's
Chime Echo
time for
Nation.
Chime Echo Ping Pong. And I'm telling y'all right now, this
Positional
is
support.
this is your positional support. This is what I made the
It's my
category for.
goat. My goat.
This thing is either going to debuff an opponent with its position and stuff, or it's going to push your ally 2 spaces forward in whatever way you want. Or it's going to push the opponents into a position where you can deal more damage, which is perfect. It's exactly what it needs to do. It either has momentum, which is going to push the opponents further so that you have more freedom of where you want them to go. Confidence to actually help out your allies. Levitate is always just good. It has 5 range, so it can go to banners. HP, attack, both really good. Though, admittedly, the attack won't come up too much. Speed is just decent. Defense is eh. Defense is pretty good. Yeah, it's very much just positional support. Next up is Snowrunt, which is, with its stats... Come on. It's literally the epitome. But actually, 254 HP, 127 attack, 127 defense, 127 speed, 5 range. Pretty okay, I guess. It's not stunning.
I feel like it's balanced, like really bad balance.
Yeah, it's the one thing that's going for it is Powder Snow. Its range is nice, but it doesn't really have much that it's really liking, honestly. Inner Focus is good, admittedly. Stealth is good. Skater is not going to come up that often, only if you're running on Neonic Storm. Hop on Neonic Storm.
Now you're waiting the next time.
But yeah, I think that works. I think it actually genuinely is balanced. Glalie, this is again another very just like flat stat spread, because what were they thinking? It has access to way better abilities though in Inner Focus, Frighten, Frostbite. It has Ice Beam, 295 HP, 180 attack, 180 defense, 180 speed. Generally speaking, those
Still balance.
I think it's still balanced. Yeah. The thing isn't really gonna sit on a banner. It's not gonna be able to do that. So yeah. Next, Sfeel, the goat. Also has Powder Snow, but I feel like it has better stats to use it. As Deep Sleep, Skater, and Thick Fat. Thick Fat is going to take a lot of hits. I think this is a pure defense.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
While its
Think of
actual
that too.
defense stat is not the prettiest, The HP stat is really good. It has a move that can hit 2 spots that can freeze. The speed stat's not great, but Powder Snow's accuracy is okay, so it makes up for it.
That
Yeah,
can also help it tank against a lot of Pokemon.
true. And Thick Fat in itself also helps, tanking. Um, Next we're gonna go to Celio, which Celio has access to Icy Wind, very tanky. Also has the same abilities. 311 HP, 166 attack, 156 defense, and 102 speed. Same. I'm putting in pure defense.
Could be an argument for defensive support,
It could be a defensive support. Let me see Icy Wind.
since I feel like in practice it'd be slightly less bulky.
I
But
agree.
Icy Wind is a lot better for Icy Wind is a lot better for just debuffing.
It is pretty good for debuffing, so I do think defensive support works. Let's go to Walrein, which Walrein, I feel like this is balance, actually. Not from looking at the stats, from the move itself. 346 HP, 204 attack, 194 defense, 141 speed. And the reason why is because Ice Ball is a multi-hit move now. Instead of being something that racks up over time, it's a multi-hit move in which it does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage if it hits 5 times. 4 times also insane. It's a lot of damage. To which I think it is balanced because it's not only tanky, but if it hits, keyword if, it does a lot of damage.
You think it could be a banner killer, maybe?
It could be a banner killer, honestly. Actually, I do agree, because just how much damage is doing to one target, usually a banner killer, or usually a banner setter. Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to get to the fun Pokemon later, the Gen 4 and Gen 5 mons, but we're going to be doing that another time because I don't want to be doing this till 11 p.m. Beldum. Ironhead again. Clear Body, Bodyguard, Run Up. These are pretty defensive abilities except for Run Up, which is pretty offensive. 216 HP, 131 attack, 165 defense, and 73 speed. Pretty bad speed. Also not that great of range. I'm not sure. Ironhead is pretty good. I'm stuck between defensive support and offensive support. It could be something else though. Because I mean, Run Up is pretty strong. Ironhead, does that deal knockback? Yes, it does. Ironhead deals knockback.
Debuffer might be the best for it, but I don't think there are any like really good labels for it.
I agree.
I don't think it's worth creating a new one for it, since like
I don't know if I could fit other things into it. Yeah. Because if I was making something just for it, then I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what I'd put there for it. Next is Matang, which is the funniest sprite ever. Not this sprite, but I mean this sprite. Oh right, I said to not capture my cursor. I mean the one on my Google tab.
yeah, that would be alright.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Bullet Punch, Clear Body, Bodyguard, Shield. All these abilities are all defensive, admittedly. 250 HP, 169 attack, 201 defense, 115 speed.
Does Bullet Punch do?
It's no effect. It's besides never missing. I feel like this is kind of
It's
pure.
balance.
It's balanced. Yeah, yeah.
It's like it is technically geared towards being more defensive, but its move is just like
Alright.
it's not horrible.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
And like it also has like decent attack as well.
Metagross, Meteor Mash. It can raise attack at a 30% chance. Clear Body, Bodyguard, Momentum. Momentum is funny. 261 HP, 266 attack, 218 defense, 140 speed. My first thought is balance.
I feel like it's a banner killer.
That too.
At least it's very good at disrupting banner mons.
That is true because Momentum or Bodyguard They all have their own uses. This one's like an offensive changing position. Bodyguard is a defensive changing position.
Medium
Quick
Rush
Bite.
also increasing attack after a hit is
Yeah.
really useful for getting rid of Venomons.
Yeah. Next is possibly the worst Pokemon in the history of ever, except he's cool. Um, Registeel.
Registeel,
Flash
Fraud,
Flash Cannon. We're gonna get to Flash Cannon range in a sec.
Fraud Cannon.
335 HP, 192 attack, 378 defense, 130 speed. We know where he's going, but I want to talk about it for a sec. Flash Cannon has 10% chance to lower target defense and has a super new range. Tee. Hits a 3x3 3x3 range. 9 squares. Because this thing is fraud. So it needs that. You know who doesn't need that but still got it anyways?
Vegeta's Ace.
Groudon, who has Earth Power, Hot-Blooded, which Hot-Blooded raises HP in Magma, Soil, or Sand, which I did not know. Also, did they ever use Soil? I don't remember them ever using Soil. Anyways. 310 HP, 305 attack, 235 defense, 185 speed. Earth Power has the 15% chance to lower target defense, but it's weaker than Flash Cannon. It has the same range as Flash Cannon. Broad Glass Cannon? No, not Glass Cannon. Offensive support?
What is Earth Power's effect again?
15% chance lower defense.
Yeah, that's offensive support, I feel, because it's a lot of spread.
Yeah.
They won't be doing much if we're doing tournament rules.
Yeah, admittedly, it won't be doing much, especially because 36 power is low power for a fully evolved mon. Next and finally for this episode, or I guess just this portion, is Rayquaza. Dragon Pulse, pretty good. Nomad, which is, I believe, 20% extra damage for every tile you move? It's something like that. I know run-up is like 15 or 12.5%. This might be like 20 or 25%. 328 HP, 313 attack, 192 defense, 202 speed, 3 movement range. This is definitely offensive, for sure.
Honestly, I feel like this might be a Broad Glass Cannon by legendary standards.
Yeah, because this thing is going to die to an Ice type, which are common. Defense stat is... the defense stat is not good. It's going to run into a lot of issues with the defense stat. So, yeah. Yeah, that'll be it for now.